Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with the reading for the collective inner child. So I did a similar reading to this, I guess, is it 1 year ago, maybe 1.5? I can link it below if you're interested. But I thought I would start this reading with pulling from the Cecchioli Oracle. So let's see what we can get for the collective child. I definitely feel that the collective child, it's like it's in a process of grounding, becoming real. Oh, interesting. Wow, okay. This is so interesting. This was the card that came out. So it's a woman reading in a book. I'm hearing an old book. This is interesting. And interesting. And then you see behind her, there's this rabbit that is looking through the window. And the rabbit did come through in previous readings that I did for the collective, both for the masculine, also for the feminine. And I feel like the rabbit is really talking about that type of innocence. You know, it's an energy of spring. So it's an energy of flow, being open, energy of growth, abundance, you know, new things coming in. And so that is such a cool image. And I particularly also like the way that the shadow of the rabbit is kind of around this feminine right here. And so I feel like it's almost the message saying that by looking at the shadow, by looking at our shadows, that's how we start to open up space for this child that wants to come in, you know, this spring energy, this rabbit. Very, very interesting. And so I'm getting this message of like, don't get too consumed is actually the word that comes through by these old books, you know, these old texts, these old established ways of doing things. I feel like there's also guidance here to keep a part of your mind open to the new, you know, and the new here, the way that we find the new is really through the shadow. At first, you know, it's like the shadow of what is to come in is kind of engulfing us at this point in time. And so it's like we start to connect to that new that is, it's like outside of our vision still. It's outside our houses still. You know, it's like peeking through the window. But we won't be able to see it directly yet. But we can see it, we can see, kind of understand the form of it by looking at the shadow that is around us. So I really love that actually. It's very deep, kind of mysterious, which is typical for the inner child. You know, the inner child will always take us away from the same old. It will take us away from the gray, you know, and it pulls us into the unknown. Underneath the deck was also a very interesting card. Very telling card, I find. I feel like this is referring to the dynamic between the collective masculine and the collective feminine that has been going on for some time. And the masculine, it refers, you know, to our egos. And for most people, this is what they will see as themselves. You know, it's their story, their identity, the established self. You know, it's kind of the book in a sense that tells you what reality is, you know, based on what you have experienced so far. And so I feel like for the collective, for the most part, this masculine aspect of ourselves, it's sleeping on the water realm. You know, it's not yet awoken within the watery realm of the astral, you know, the realm of the imagination. Most people don't, I'm hearing actually, most people don't take that shit seriously. uh, it's like they see it as woo woo and like, yeah, they just don't take the feminine areas of life seriously. They don't understand it. It's kind of outside of their mind. It's like their consciousness is still too small to understand it. And so I feel most people in the collective, their masculines, their egos are still sleeping on this. They're not at all aware. But and this unawareness is what I feel makes the feminine actually bigger. It's like the people that do have this, that have awoken their eyes, you know, their selves within this world of water, they are actually at this point in time, it's almost like they are energetically bigger than others, than people that have not awoken themselves in that realm. And so it's almost like they are even too big to come into reality. Almost, it's like they are constantly being blocked from manifest reality, because again, they're not taken seriously. It's like they're too far out there, they're too woo. It's like they're living in the future, kind of ahead of their time, is what I'm hearing. So that's so interesting, right? It's like so it's like the mother of this child, I feel the mother of this child that is wanting to come in, it's like the true mother of this child that is wanting to come in is still not manifest, and that the version of the feminine that is manifest, she is consumed by reading in this old book. And so that's kind of why I'm feeling that she is becoming a little bit gray, actually. She's becoming a bit, yeah, it's like she's becoming too separate from the highest good of all, from this stream of evolution. And I feel almost like she's aging a little bit. So that's something interesting maybe to think about within yourself, like to identify these different parts within yourself. Like, what is your gray feminine? You know, the part of you that is constantly bowing down and receiving from the established knowledge, you know, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. But here what I'm getting, it's about being aware, because if we're aware, we can find a better balance. If we see that, oh, this is actually not serving me anymore, this current balance within my psyche, I want to open up more to, for instance, this unmanifest feminine that is still not real, but it's like, but she has so much life. You know, water is life, it's new life, it's juiciness, it's like quenching the thirst, you know, feeling satisfied, deeply satisfied. And so, versus, you know, something that is kind of gray and dry and brittle and boring. So I think, like, if you're feeling at all bored with your life, if you're feeling depressed, you know, connect to the watery realm, connect to your imagination. Like, that's how you build yourself. Like, that's how you build your astral body, actually, by spending time daydreaming and really allowing yourself to go into that fairy tale world. Because remember, you know, the feelings that you feel, even if they're based on an imagination, you know, on something that isn't actually manifest now, you're still teaching your body how to feel those feelings and how to kind of bond and tune into those timelines. It's like you're strengthening those cells within your body that is producing those feelings. And so it becomes more habitual. that's what you also start to radiate, more and more and more. And so imagining is really a way of building up our frequency, of grounding in our dream frequency. So yeah, I love it. I feel like that is very much a part of bringing in this new collective child that is gonna bring spring back to our lives. That's what I'm feeling. And I feel like it's also through that imagination, through connecting to this watery world, that's how we start to awaken our masculine as well. And for those of you that have stayed on the twin flame journey, you know that this is also how you awaken your counterpart, by connecting to them in the imaginary world. When everyone awakens, we're just going to communicate a lot via that world, because it's very efficient. So that's what I'm feeling. A very fun energy though. It's like a huge shift I feel for some of you. So let's see if we can get some more guidance here. But it's also something about like the child. I almost feel like the rabbit is a new version of the masculine. I feel like it's almost like I said, by going into that world, the imaginary world, daydreaming, strengthening that unmanifest feminine, it's almost like you're creating a new version of your masculine. I feel like the myth of Mother Mary and Jesus comes in here. That's the type of work that I'm referring to. It's like by working with your inner feminine, letting your it's like letting your thirst guide you to where it is that you need to be quenched, if that makes sense. It's like you go into the imaginary world because you have some kind of need, something that isn't being fulfilled in like your gray world, kind of. That's why most people start to go into that world. And so by following that need, in a sense, that desire, that immaturity or unfulfillment, that's how we start to really become more conscious of what exactly is it that I lack in my life? What exact vibrations would be the cure to this thirst that I'm experiencing within my masculine? And so it's something about like giving yourself access to that through your own imagination. That I feel balances out our current state, our bodies. And by doing that over time, it's almost like we give birth to this new version. It's like the Christ, the Jesus, the one that is more whole and more satisfied, because it's connected to this mother, this unmanifest feminine that will just give us everything that we need, basically. And so that's what I'm feeling, that kind of, that's what is born into reality. And then it's something about like the shadow of that new masculine is what teaches the outdated feminine, the gray feminine, how to come back to life again. It's something like that. So there's a very I definitely feel that this is very much talking to that like twin flame dynamic that goes on. You can have it with another person, you can have it within yourself, and it can also be, of course, both. It really depends what you choose to open the door for in your life, what you choose to let your mind believe in. But yeah, I'm feeling that path is becoming more and more significant for I'm hearing the restoration of, it's like the human soul, actually. Very interesting. I feel that there are more messages here. I'm not able, I might not be able to like talk about everything. Oftentimes it is like that in readings. But there's just a lot of messages. There's just a lot of juiciness with this. So yeah, let's see. Anything else? And so I feel like, yeah, the masculine and the feminine, they are manifesting each other. That's what this is about, though. You know, first it's almost like the feminine is manifesting the masculine in the subconscious. You know, it's like awakening, pulling the masculine into their subconscious to feed him what he needs, what he's seeking. And then that means that when the masculine steps into reality again, he's just a way more innocent version of himself. You know, he comes through as the rabbit, very innocent. It's like he's born again, you know. And then that innocence is what kind of makes the old feminine come back to life, because it's like if she looks up from her book there for just a second, she's gonna notice this shadow around her. Like, why isn't the light hitting me? You know, what is it? What is blocking me from the sun, kind of? That's what I'm feeling. And if she starts to tune into that, it's almost like she's gonna start to see how the masculine has changed. The masculine is no longer who she remembers him as. That's what I'm feeling here, actually. It's like she's reading an old story. Look up, feminine. That's what I want to say. It's like times have changed. I love it. It's so cool. I really love it. Yeah, we're moving into times that are gonna be very different now. That's what I'm feeling. It's like the inner child, the new masculine, is manifest. It's real now. Spring is, for some of you, I feel like spring is close. Collectively, I think that we're moving into winter, you know, a time of depression, because that's what's gonna get the collective to move into this watery realm. Very few people would choose to go into that realm if it was like glorious around them. You know what I mean? It's always some kind of lack or need that kind of pushes us humans to go into our imagination and start to just dream, you know. It's you know, it's being bored or being depressed or not living the life that you want. That's what really ignites those creative abilities and those psychic abilities within us, those spinster abilities, you know, the ability to spin a new matrix and like figure out where the juice is. Yeah, let's see, can we get some cards? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Ooh, 2 cards coming out. Wow. Okay, the rabbit again. This is the page of coins, page of pentacles, and then the 9 of swords here. Interesting. And then underneath the deck was the Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, and wow, yeah, 8 of swords behind the Knight of Pentacles. The rabbit and the fair is very much linked here, I feel. Also, look at this poor rabbit here. It's like the Knight of Pentacles. It's completely worn out. Like, it's been abused. You know, I think like a lot of people, masculines, a lot of people, the masculine is actually really frightened of, oh yeah, of stepping into this rabbit archetype. And I'm hearing he's frightened because of the dark feminine. You know, this is this is also a version of the collective feminine, and this is a version of the collective feminine that is like she has become so jaded and so darkened that she's at the point where all she wants is to break down. All she wants is to be on top. It's like she doesn't care. It's like she has separated herself from her water, basically, her kind of like mothery nurturing instincts, and now all she wants is like to feed. It's kind of the energy of death, basically, you know. It's like the base level of earth. The earth breaks down life, right? And so the feminine can end up in this place, like when we get kind of too wounded and we're no longer willing to try to heal ourselves, to try to restore ourselves, or to believe again. We just want to destroy. So that's what I'm feeling here, that the rabbit is very much afraid of. Like, the masculine, the rabbit, is afraid of the state of the feminine. And I think that that is a valid fear. I actually think that it feels like there is quite a lot of people that have actually chosen this darkened path. Of course, this is not a conscious choice. They're not aware that they're playing out an archetype. You know, they are just being bound by their feelings, the desire to destroy. It's a very strong force. You know, it's a very, again, because it's so base, it really communicates to our base drives and desires and levels. Kind of a little bit of a warrior energy, you know. Many people get very kind of excited about this energy, particularly if their life is kind of gray and depressing. Then that is another way. It's like the energy of death and darkness and breaking down. So yeah, I definitely feel that for this transformation to happen, there has to be some kind of innocence within the feminine. It's like the feminine spirit within the twin flame union, if this is a relationship, or the feminine spirit within the individual, has to be willing to rejuvenate. You know, she has to be willing to forgive. She has to be willing to believe in love again, to open up her heart again, to take a chance again, you know, to take another ride. That's what I'm feeling also a little bit here with that Knight of Pentacles. It's like, but instead of like riding on the rabbit, it's like riding on this wave of spring, you know, this current, being in the now, you know, and just opening our hearts and being like, let's see what happens, you know. I'm gonna take the chance. That's what I'm feeling. And so it's almost like for the masculine to become fully manifest, real, and step into this room, it's almost like it's testing the feminine to see, like, is she darkened, or is she just pure? Is she new? Is she growing? Is she like reaching for the light? Some of you, I feel like you may not feel like you have the energy anymore to reach for the light. And I think that if you feel like you don't have the energy, it's somehow because I think that you might have cut yourself off from the idea of the child. So maybe you think like you're too old to have a child, but like I spoke about a little bit in the reading for the feminine, it's like that concept of having a child is oftentimes symbolic. You know, it also speaks about rejuvenating ourselves. If you cannot physically have a child, of course it won't happen, but you will give birth to that aspect, the soul, you know, that the part of the light that wants to come in, you will just give birth to it through yourself. It's like you will become that child in a way, that is like the part of the new light. You will play it out. So there's something about that, like if you feel like you don't have the energy, try to reconnect to the child, the concept of the child, a new child coming in. If you say no to the child, I don't think you will notice the shadow of the rabbit, because it's like you will just be so absorbed in this old book. And because this old book is like, I'm hearing a book of gray, it's just gonna take your energy away and kind of like make you more and more gray, age more rapidly. That's what I'm feeling, honestly. So again, I'm not sharing this to scare or to tell you what to do or whatever. Like, I'm just painting the picture of the energies that I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, you know, I don't know. I'm just sharing what I feel. So just take it as you will. Yeah, because I feel like this rabbit is such a breath of fresh air. Like you see with the curtain just flowing there, it just feels like rejuvenation. It's like, oh, it feels so nice. Just like taking a deep breath and just like being free. Wow. Devil. And underneath the deck is the 8 of, wow. So I also see like the feminine is also testing the masculine though. Because I feel like the feminine is also wondering whether she can trust the masculine, and that comes through here. This is like her being fearful of that kind of like beast energy. I think like the feminine also want to know, like, is the masculine truly innocent though? Like, will he listen to me, or is he kind of still an animal that is very much controlled by his own desires? I feel like if you're interested in this timeline, you might want to check out the Scorpio readings. They have been dealing with a lot of that, like how to handle those base drives, sexual desires, and they have been dealing with that type of dynamic and wounding that has been going on through the masculine and the feminine collective. So I'm not going to go into all of it in this reading because I see like it's getting kind of long, but then you know that you can go and check out those videos if you're curious or if it resonates for you. But I do feel like there is some kind of mutual testing going on, and it's all happening kind of on a subconscious level. And again, like I said, if you are not awake on that level, then you are just gonna play out it's like the default settings, if that makes sense. It's the collective soul. So each time period that us humans go through, it's like there is this is a collection of default settings in regards to this archetype. For instance, you know, like we talked about here with the masculine, during this period that we've had now, it's almost been like a split within the psyche of the masculine. Either they are kind of very disciplined and hard to the point of almost not connecting to their emotional body at all, to really have control over their like drives and desires, or they're more like this base level heathen kind of desire driven animal a little bit, you know, someone who isn't ashamed of their animal drives, but also someone that aren't really that masterful of them. It's like they're constantly bowing down to their desires and their drives and their like base. And so I feel like that's kind of the default settings of the masculine within the era that we've been in. And the people that are conscious, the masculines that are conscious within their subconscious, they are now starting to work on creating a better balance within that, you know, with it. It's almost like a hole within the masculine psyche. There's an area where the masculine is not in control. And now I feel like the collective is working on bringing that light into that place. And so if you connect to a person that is awakened in the astral and is doing that type of work, you will straight away feel it. The way that they interact with you in the astral, let's say you go in there, play out some, I'm hearing games, but play out some imaginations and see how, if they participate, how they participate, you know, that will tell you a lot about the psyche of that person and their depth, their how awake they are within themselves. And so if you're not awake, if you haven't been connecting to this level at all, that will also be felt, and you're just going to play out the default settings, meaning that the karma that you create for yourself isn't based on your free will, on your choice, on your awareness. It's just a default setting. You know what I mean? And so that's why I feel like the feminine and the masculine are kind of testing each other to see if they are awake, especially if this is a relationship. And the people that are awake, I feel that, or are starting to become more and more awake, I feel that they are going to be very cautious with establishing close bonds with people that are completely asleep and completely kind of still driven by the collective soul. So wow, it's such a cool reading actually, like this that's coming through here. Interesting to see the collective here. So I hope that you got some interesting information, and remember that no matter where you are, like, never judge yourself, because we are where we are for a reason. So instead of judging yourself and thinking that, oh, I should have been further, whatever, just try to pinpoint the reasons that you are where you are. You know, see the big picture, understand where you're standing, like understand the karma that you're dealing with. At this point in time, it's rarely our fault as individuals. A lot of the challenges that we have are there because of the collective karma. So if you can become aware of that and understand that, you're already so much further. You know, these default settings that I spoke about. So yeah, I hope that helps. Take care, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.